125 years ago in March, the Great Central Railway opened, which was quite a fantastic achievement. It was the last main line that was built in the UK before the first part of HS1 opened back in the early 2000s. And it connected Manchester, Sheffield, Nottingham, Leicester through to London Marylebone. So quite significant achievement celebrating the anniversary of that earlier this year.
Yeah, definitely. So at what point then did it? I want to say the only way I can think to phrase this is, did it all go wrong?
Beaching came along, I
Mm,
think probably the first part of that answer. So in the late 1960s, as the motor car was in ascendancy and taking over, the railways were really beginning to struggle and going out of fashion. And there were already mainline railways serving all of the places I've just mentioned, including here in the East Midlands, Leicester, Loughborough, and Nottingham. And as a consequence, something had to give, and the Great Central Railway ultimately became closed. And it was actually the biggest closure of the famous Beeching Cut of the
right.
Great Central.
Right, yeah, no, I've heard plenty about the beaching cuts previously. So when did you resurrect it then? Certainly, both sides of it.
I can probably answer that. So the initial organisation was called Mainline Preservation Group, started in 1969, believe it or not.
Right.
And the idea was at that time was to preserve the line from Leicester to Nottingham as it was. That quickly became untenable and too expensive to do. So what they did, they gradually sort of shrank down to what they could do. And the railway actually started at Loughborough here. It was centred in Loughborough, and it sort of opened in 1973. So it's been going quite a long time here as well. So 50 years last year.
Wow.
And it started, and it's gradually expanded until we've got from Leicester to just south of Nottingham, apart from the gap in the middle.
Yeah, and that's really what you want to work on now. Have you seen it increase in popularity over that time?
It has, yeah. As the railway's grown, we've done more and more. So the popularity of the railways has grown, and throughout that period, actually, the romance of steam trains and the delight in watching trains of any type, actually, run diesel trains as well, of course, has continued to be consistent. People absolutely love it and keep flocking to us. And over the course of the last 50 years, the railways gradually been extended more and more. We've got a double track main line for much of our railway, which is unique. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, it was a main line, the last main line to be built to London. So we've actually restored it as a main line. So nowhere else can you see two large steam locomotives passing on a main line other than here.
What do you think it is about heritage railways that we love so much?
That's a really good question. I think it's because people of all ages are always absolutely fascinated by a steam engine. I mean, there's nobody from a 2-year-old to an old gentleman or lady who are not fascinated and just love to see them because of what they are. So it continues to get in popularity. People have got more time to come and see these things. The offering that we give is getting greater and greater. So, for example, the railway does first-class dining services, which means people come back to the heydays of the railways, have Pullman-style coaches and dining services. And people just don't seem to be able to get enough of it. They love it.
So to build on that as well, I think just generally in society, people don't tire of enjoying history and nostalgia. And I mean, the number of period dramas and films and so on that there are is testimony to the fact that the people enjoy looking back in times gone by. Maybe there's a fondness for it, and we certainly, I think, exploit that fondness through running steam trains that people continue to love.
This time of year, then, coming into the summer, you must really, really gear up for a busy season.
Some of us are the busiest. Of course, the children are off school. People have gone on holiday. People want to come and have something to do for a day. So that makes a big difference. People would prefer to go for a dining train when they can see out of the window and look out of the sunshine as opposed to pitch black. So it does get busy from now. I'd say it probably peaks in June, July, August time, then it gradually falls away. And then in October, it goes very quiet until the Christmas period.
There is something very romantic about having dinner and a Pullman car, isn't there?
There is. Oh,
Absolutely.
It's fabulous. Yeah. I mean, we're very lucky because one of the big structures on the railway is a big viaduct which goes over a reservoir. So what we do is we park the steam train, with the carriages on the viaduct for an hour while they have the main course. So you sit in your carriage looking over a reservoir and watching the birds, fly and the swans paddling by. It's super.
Oh, wow. I'm coming to see you in the summer, guys. That sounds absolutely glorious. It really does. So you've already started this reunification project. Malcolm, I'll talk to you here. I mean, how far have you got so far?
Well, it's been a long-held ambition to join the railways together. We've got 500-metre missing bit of railway, but it's quite a complicated missing bit of railway. We've over the last probably decade or two, we've raised probably around about £6 million, 4 million of which we've already put into the ground. So one bridge has been thoroughly refurbished, which bridges a canal. There's a bridge over the main Midland Mainline which runs from Nottingham through Leicester to London St Pancras. That bridge, which goes across a 4-track main line, is in. That cost a couple of million quid. And then we just recently finished bridging the main Loughborough to Nottingham Road, the A60, with a new bridge to replace life expired bridge there. So we've made some good progress, but there's still a lot to do. That's only one part of it, and there's now quite a lot more to do.
So what's next?
Well, what's next is we need to raise quite a bit more money because we need to build some more embankment, and we need to build a large viaduct to connect all of those parts I've just mentioned together. We are currently doing the design work that we need for a planning application, and in the next few weeks that planning application will be submitted to our local council, who are very supportive, which is fantastic. And then following that, we'll be moving on to doing detailed design so that we can move towards then placing tenders for contracts when we've got funding available.
Brilliant. So, funding permitting, planning permission permitting, everything else. When are you hoping to have this completed by?
Well, that's how long's a piece of string.
Yeah.
But what we are trying to do, so I'm not trying to evade the question, but if I put it in these terms, if someone wins the Euro lottery tonight, is it tonight? We would like to be in a position by the end of this year to say it's going to cost this amount, and this is how. So it'll be what's known as shovel ready. So if someone came along with a checkbook and said, "I've got the money," then we could do it. How long it would take if that circumstances occurred, then it'd probably take 18 months, 2 years to actually build it.
Right.
Once you've got all the permissions in place, which is what we're doing now.
Yeah.
If that doesn't happen, we'll still have the documentation in place, we hope, by the end of this calendar year. So it would be, shovel ready. But how quickly those shovels will be in the ground and complete the task would just be a funding thing.
Do you know what I noticed in your promotional material, and I wanted to read this quote to you, and I wanted to ask you a little bit about it. You said that donors from across the world are making this happen. I mean, where are these donations coming from?
Well, all over the world. It really does capture the imagination of people from all over the UK and abroad. As well, and we've had quite significant sums of money being donated from people who are overseas. A lot of people leave money in their wills to this project, which is really wonderful. That's a fantastic legacy to leave, and one that really inspires us to carry on and make sure it happens. Of course.
Yeah.
The question is all over the world. So we've literally had donations from people in Australia, quite a few from the United States, because the United States got a huge railway or railroad, as they call it, following over there. And this is quite an exciting thing for that. Obviously, we've not had millions of pounds from them. It'd be nice if some oil-rich Texan came along, but they haven't yet. But the more that the word gets spread around, the more likely we are to achieve what we need to do. I think what we'll find happen, Lisa, is we'll have a lot of people giving smaller amounts, but just no people power, as they say. The more people that give a little bit, then the sooner we'll get there.
Yeah, definitely. And in terms of when it is finished, I mean, apologies if this is a stupid question, but will mainline traffic be able to use your rail? Is that the sort of thing that could happen? Has it happened before?
Yes, absolutely. That is part of one of the benefits. So the southern bit, the bit that runs from Leicester to Loughborough at the moment, of the railway is not connected to the national rail network. So anything we bring in and out has to come by road. So any locomotives that come to stay here or to visit, they have to come in by road. And rejoining these two railways together will give us that connectivity to the national rail network. And at that point, it'll be possible to run trains from anywhere in the country and bring them right to the Great Central Railway and to sit on that viaduct that Andy was talking about and have dinner. So yeah, that's going to be a significant benefit that we get as a consequence of doing this work.